Hey, Barry William Maglady, your host of the Comeback Game podcast. In this episode, I speak to Jeff Goins of goinswriting.com, and we talk about the unforgotten and never-changing art of copywriting and direct response marketing. Now, Jeff's an expert in copywriting, blogging, and everything related, with over a decade and a half of experience and working alongside some of the greatest like Gary Vee and Seth Godin. Something I really enjoyed about listening to the episode here with Jeff was his insights around the difference between strategy and principles when it comes to growing your business. I think learning and understanding more around marketing and building a tribe that really follows you regardless of where you go is important, because if you want to build a sustainable business, you need to be clear on how you're going to outlast the ever-changing dynamics and marketplace that exists today. You know, many years ago, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have these platforms that are very prominent now in growing your business. And so it's really important to understand what are the core principles that are driving the results of your business that never change. And as Jeff shares, once you understand the principles, you will dominate any platform you ever move to. If you're currently in business right now, an entrepreneur, you're looking to either bring on board more loyal customers, or maybe you feel like your business is a little bit out of control and you're not moving towards your wants, but maybe the wants of the marketplace, then this episode is absolutely for you. Some of the main points we talk about today is the art of marketing. Number 2 is getting clear on your goals. Mark Manson talks about in his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Be clear that your goals are your goals. And I see many, many business owners that are in business trying to achieve something or trying to reach the precipice of their business, where in actual fact, what they're going after is not their own goals, but the goals they've picked up from society, which can lead to running an absolutely unfulfilling business, leads you being stressed and burnt out and wondering why you even went to business in the first place. And the last thing, key point we talk about is the difference between strategy and principles. Strategies are forever changing, yet there is core principles when it comes to marketing, when it comes to positioning, when it comes to growing your business that are never changing. And if you understand the principles, you understand how to play the game and you can win the game. At the end of the episode, I share with you Jeff's website and any other links mentioned throughout this episode. And if you enjoy this episode, please subscribe through our website, thegamechangers.com.au/the comeback game, through YouTube, through iTunes or Spotify or most other podcasting platforms. And if you know somebody else who might benefit from listening to this episode, please share the love, like and comment, and let us know what you enjoyed the most. Let's now head over to this fantastic interview with Jeff Goins. Jeff, how you doing this morning, mate?
Hey, very good. How are you?
Good, thank you. And where are you calling in from?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. Outstanding. Mate, for those that are listening or watching this today that haven't come across you before, can you just share a little bit about your background and what it is you do?
Sure. Well, I did online marketing for a nonprofit for about 7 years, and that led me to blogging and writing, and I became a full-time writer, which I've been doing for almost 10 years now. I write books and help other writers and creative entrepreneurs succeed. I do that through coaching programs, online courses, masterminds, various programs like that.
Wow. And would you say that you've always deemed yourself as an entrepreneur?
No, gosh, no. I was scared of terms like business and marketing. All I ever wanted to do was not owe anybody money. Entrepreneurship was something I sort of stumbled into, and it took me years to even be comfortable calling myself that.
Yeah. Where did that kind of desire to not owe people money come from? Like, was that from a family upbringing or past experience, or?
Yeah, my parents, we grew up without much, and my parents were often in debt. Bill collectors would call at supper time. And I never wanted a lot. I just didn't want I didn't want to owe anybody anything. Yeah. I wanted to be self-reliant. And so I paid for college with scholarships, immediately moved away, had a penny to my name, moved to Nashville, chased a girl, and just lived very frugally, but, made it work. And then eventually when I started a business, I didn't even think that I was starting a business. I was just making money on the internet. And so it's like, we have a business. I'm like, just not a business. It's just like a thing, And then that became a whole new game of like, well, how much can I accumulate so that I'll never need anything from anyone ever again, which was a weird, but educational journey. But yeah, it really went back to seeing my parents struggle, seeing how hard life was when you owed other people money, time, attention, whatever. And from the very beginning, I wanted to be pretty independent.
Mm-hmm. And what was the decision to get into online marketing? Like, how did that come about?
It was a total accident. I always liked writing. I was a Spanish and religion major, and
Wow.
I graduated college and toured with a band for a year. So these things make sense: Spanish, religion, music. And then I moved to Nashville. I quit the band and moved to Nashville, which is the opposite order in which those things tend to happen.
Yeah.
And I started working at a call center part-time, and then this nonprofit that I was interested in working with in Atlanta called me up and asked me if I would help them start an online magazine, basically a blog. And I didn't really know anything about blogging. And so I went to Borders, this, now out of business bookstore, and like found the one book on blogging. This is 2006, maybe
Wow.
2005. 2006, that's right. And got into blogging, and I was teaching missionaries how to blog is what I was doing. And then as a result, you learn things when you teach them. And so I started my own blog, and through that experience of helping other people tell their stories, realized that I had my own story to tell. And so from blogging, so I was hired as a writer at this organization. And I didn't even really think of myself as a writer. It was just something that I'd always done. I was a writing tutor in college.
Yeah.
And then one day my boss said, "You're the marketing director." They didn't have a marketing director. He goes, "You're the marketing director." I said, "What does that mean?" And he says, "I'll read Seth Godin's blog. You'll figure it out." And no joke, that's how I became an online marketer. Was I was given a title, and I was given Seth Godin's blog as my educational tool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And here we are 14 years later.
Yeah. And I sat in Seth's office years ago and told him this story. I mean, it's crazy, Thank you is what I said. I said, "Thanks. You taught me how to be a marketer the right way." Yeah.
And what I like out of that too is that you had this role of helping people write blogs, and yet you hadn't had any previous experience of doing that other than the one book that you bought at
Oh, yeah.
Borders.
Yeah. No, I had dabbled in blogging before then on a site called Zanga, but I knew really nothing about it. And because I had to teach people how to do it, I had to do it myself. Like I was gonna model what I was teaching, and I was just learning and testing the whole time.
Yeah. So you've been around or in the space of online marketing and internet marketing for some time now, for over a century, right? And a decade. And like, what have you noticed has been the difference that you've seen the platform or change since you started back then to where things are now?
There are plenty of people who, make predictions and talk about what's working and what's not working. I'm not one of those people. I think you want to know what's happening right now. I think Gary Vaynerchuk is always, 3 steps ahead of everybody. What I am fascinated with is what's not changing. Because if you can build a business around things that don't change, it'll be around 10, 20, 30 years from now. Right.
Yeah.
So we get so caught up in what's working now, but if it's working now and it wasn't working 5 years ago, what's going to be happening 5 years from now? And, you always have to be innovating. I'm trying lots of different things, but I always start with principles. What are the things that have always been true? And if I know those things, then I'm just looking for new opportunities to apply those principles. So for example, permission is true. You always need permission with an audience to communicate directly with them. The other thing about this, Barry, as you probably know, is when some marketer tells you what's working or what's not working, they're telling you what's working or not working for them, which may not be true of the industry. And so the entire online marketing industry is full of people who are lying. And I don't mean that maliciously. They're just saying, they're sharing their subjective experience, but because they're the guru, you believe them, and you hear something like online courses don't work anymore. Email is dead. Blogging is dead. And I never accept that at surface value. For example, take blogging. Blogging is dead. What is a blog? A blog is a website where you publish dynamic content. That's going away. I mean, a podcast is a blog with audio content, and it's transmitted to, various apps that you download it, but it's a blog, right? And podcasting isn't dead. News sites are not dead. Those are all technically blogs. So we have to think in terms of principles, not in terms of just tools and strategies. Tools and strategies are helpful. Most online marketers focus on tools and strategies. Take somebody like a Seth Godin or even a Gary Vee. They understand the rules of the game, right? Think if you were playing Monopoly, right? And you're like, what works really well is Park Place. If you buy Park Place, you're going to win, right? Or if you get this one card, that allows you to win the lottery or whatever, get the inheritance. Those are strategies. No. You have to understand how to play the game of Monopoly. Go, if I get enough of these properties, I'm going to drive all my competitors out of business and I'm going to win. And so I think the things that have always been true I'm a student of Seth's. I believe very much in his approach to marketing. Permission, trust, earning the right to speak with someone. And then over time, that just looks a bunch of different ways. I think in order to succeed at online marketing, you have to have a compelling message. You have to have a way to communicate that message, and you have to have the trust of an audience to communicate that to them in a way where every time you have something to say, you don't have to knock on the door. Does that make sense? So that could be an email list. It could be a push notification. It could be a text, Facebook message. These are all tools that will continue to change. But you always need these things. You always need a platform, a place where your content lives, something to say that matters. And that often means that you are saying something new or interesting in the space. And we can go more into that if you want. And then you've got to have explicit permission from your audience to communicate with them, period.
Yeah. And I think too, you need to know who you're communicating with. I think
absolutely.
the mistake that a lot of people make is they might have a compelling offer, but they're trying to communicate it to everyone. And therefore, their marketing budget doesn't allow them to go deep with any particular niche.
Yeah. And I think that people are so consumed with what works now, whatever it is, bots or whatever, the latest, greatest thing. That's fine. But this is the problem with online marketing is you have a bunch of marketers who aren't they're thinking about how do I get more attention? How do I sell more widgets? Because that's what a marketer does. That's great. But what about the product? What is the problem that you're solving? And how can you go find the people that need this thing? I mean, these are fundamental business principles that many online marketers don't even consider. They're just thinking about funnels. What is a funnel? A funnel means that you have demand, right? That you're funneling into leads that are going to convert to sales. So demand for what?
Yeah.
They think that they can just create anything and sell it. And that's not how it works. That's never how businesses worked.
Yeah. Yeah. You look at Eugene Schwartz's, 5 levels, things like that don't go away. 5 levels of awareness.
Yep.
And
exactly.
I think that's the thing that I've learned as well over the last few years, that if you understand positioning of an offer, if you understand how to communicate that, it doesn't matter what's in as far as the latest strategy or the platform. Like you said, whether it's a bot, whether it's Facebook ads, whether it's Instagram, it doesn't matter because you understand the fundamentals haven't changed. The way to communicate and to influence someone through writing effective copy hasn't changed.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's the game, I think. And so I'm not a Luddite. I'm not somebody going, I'm just going to, send physical letters in the mail or whatever. Or the equivalent of that now probably is email. I'm just going to send emails, right? I'm not going to worry about push notifications and bots and all this stuff. I'm very interested in all of the latest, greatest technology. I'm not on the bleeding edge like many people because I don't think that I need to be. I feel like I have a decent understanding of the fundamentals. I've built a dedicated tribe of people that will follow me almost wherever I go. My job is to serve them and to find more people like them. And it doesn't have to be millions of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really key point too. That it doesn't have to be millions of people. Like I met a lot of business owners that get caught up with, wanting to attract 1 million clients. And it's like, you actually don't need 1 million clients to build what you want to build or get where you want to go. You just need to get enough of the right type of clients that, as you said, are willing to follow you wherever you go, to be able to create a loyal following, which I know Seth talks about a lot as well.
Yep. Yeah. Seth challenged me one time. He said, what would happen if you couldn't get another fan? Do you have enough people paying attention to you now that you could just serve them for the rest of your life? And if you did that, how would your level of service change? I found that very compelling. I thought, well, I would have to give more and I would have to charge more. And I might not need to work with 20,000 people as I did one year. I could maybe work with 100 or 200 or 500 or 1,000, but really, really go much deeper with a much smaller group of people. 1 million customers, my goodness. That's a million. That's probably several million support tickets. That's 1 million problems, right? A business is a solution to a problem. A product is a solution to a problem. And so if you have 1 million customers, you have 1 million problems to solve.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much more effective would you be if you only had 100 problems to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. And how much better could you serve those 100 people too?
Yeah. Marketers are in love with the word more, and there's something great about that. There's something fun about that game of going after the next big thing. But at a certain point, I think any integrous marketer goes, what is this about? What are we trying to do here? What am I actually trying to accomplish other than to get the next customer?
Yeah. What I love to see is competitors in the marketplace or people in a similar space seemingly copying our ads or our funnels or things like that. Yeah. The interesting thing is that they don't understand the thinking behind them. They don't understand the strategy.
Exactly.
So they might see that these ads are being ran all the time or that they're getting a lot of interest, but they don't actually understand the full puzzle that sits behind the one piece that they're seeing online. And this is where I think a lot of people, the internet is great, but a lot of people too aren't getting the results they want because it's too easy to funnel hack, essentially. Right? Yeah. It's too easy to go and rip off what someone else is doing, but you actually have no idea what the bigger picture looks like and how the strategy is working for them.
Yeah, I think of it like if you were to watch a martial artist, an expert, a master in Aikido or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? And you would go, oh, you just do that and you block the hit, or you do that to their throat. I mean, I don't know. I have a friend who does jiu-jitsu and he always comes to breakfast with black eyes and stuff. I'm like, you sure you like this? You look like a battered husband, and, but it's like that, right? It's that level of intention. Most of us who don't practice martial arts would be like, we at least understand, we know that there are levels of belts before you get to, black belt and then series of black belts. And so to see a black belt martial artist do their work and just see the external go, I could do that. Like as a kid, right? You're like, see the Karate Kid and you're doing that. And not understanding that there are all these fundamentals, years of work and thinking and planning and practicing that even lead to that particular move. Certainly true with marketing. I mean, marketing is a sophisticated art. It's a blend of science, psychology. People who are doing this well. I mean, it's more than just, like you said, funnel hacking. It's a real art form, and you can't start at the external. You have to start at the internal, which is psychographic stuff. How does my customer think? How can I get into their mind? Who am I trying to reach? What is their problem? How are they motivated? And so on. Those are the deep fundamentals of the craft that, as you said, the challenge of the internet is you see everybody's highlight reels, right? And so the good news is when some joker comes along and tries to copy you, they can't, because they don't understand all the stuff underneath the surface that has taken years and years for you to get to where you are today. And that's good news.
Funnel hacking will absolutely get you started, but it won't allow you to create sustainable long-term results unless you understand the background we're talking about here. And you mentioned that businesses exist to solve problems. So I'm curious to know, like, if you look back over the last 14 years of your experience in business, like in almost a decade and a half, what would you say has been the biggest challenge or problem that you've faced in your journey as an entrepreneur? And who did you become through overcoming it?
My biggest challenge is I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know why I was doing this. I'm not a serial entrepreneur who needs to create business after business and someone who loves the game of business just to play the game. I wanted to start a business to support my family and live the kind of life that I wanted to live. And I had a lot of guilt about that. I felt like it wasn't enough. So what did I do? I grew my business to a size that was unwieldy with over a dozen employees that required me to work harder than I was at my day job, right? And so I had quit my job, and my wife had quit her job, and she was staying home with her kids. And now I had all these meetings that I didn't want to go to that I had scheduled, right?
Mm.
And it was all because I was chasing somebody else's definition of success.
Mm.
And so first I had to become somebody that I didn't like very much to do the job that I'd given myself. Then I had to realize, you did this. This is your fault, man. So if you did this to yourself, you can undo it. And then I had to spend a couple of years kind of scaling back my business. And the irony is I didn't actually, I didn't diminish profits at all. I, in fact, increased profits quite a bit, and was left with a leaner, more manageable business that really felt like it belonged to me and that it was serving me and my goals. And I was able to do the kind of work I wanted to do in the world, work with the kind of people I wanted to work with, make the kind of money I wanted to make, and live the kind of life I wanted to live. And so now it's pretty fun. And I think the thing that I learned is I have to trust myself. I have to trust that I know at a gut level, at an intuitive level, what my next move is. And it doesn't matter what other people are doing or saying.
Mm.
I found that many of those people, those gurus, are lying about their success and their happiness. You need to do this, blah, blah, blah. You need to scale this or whatever. I've met all these people, and behind closed doors, they've told me how unhappy they are or how stressed they are. And I don't think it has anything to do with success. I know plenty of very successful people who are very happy, but I can tell you that their success has nothing to do with their happiness.
Mm.
Right? Those are different things.
Mm. Such great advice. I remember it actually reminded me of a time we ran an event in Lombok, Indonesia, many years ago.
Wow.
And back then, the thought of a holiday would stress me out to no ends because I was an absolute workaholic.
Yeah.
I was so stuck just in my business, not necessarily because my business required me to be stuck in there, but because I was just obsessed with getting to these goals. And I remember my partner and I just at the time decided to take some time off, and I was like sitting there on the beach with my laptop next to me reading a book. I'm like, if I'm going to have time off, at least I'm going to learn some stuff. And I was reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Uh-huh.
And I remember distinctly a line in there, which is exactly what you just shared there, and which is around like, make sure your goals are actually your goals. And and it really hit home. I was like, wow, are the things that I'm chasing actually goals that I want and that will fulfill me? Or are they goals that I've been indoctrinated from society, believing that I need to make a certain amount of money or have a certain type of lifestyle? And I really reflected on that. And that was probably the time, this was 4 or 5 years ago. That was a time where I really took back control or took back power of my life and my business and where I was going.
Yep.
And sure, my business is massively bigger now than what it was back then. But my business doesn't require me to be in it anymore day to day to still thrive and still grow and serve clients, because I got very, very clear of what I was creating and why I was creating it, which is similar to what you shared. And I think that's a mistake that I see a lot of people make, is they're in business and they're trying to grow for the sake of growth.
That's right.
Not to actually serve their needs, not to actually fulfill their desires or their dreams or anything like that, but because they've stopped questioning where they're going or why they're going there.
Right. Yep. I love that. There's a poet by the name of David White who says something similar, which is make sure the questions that you're asking of your life are coming from you. And I think like we're thinking about answers, but what's the question behind the answer? Like, how do I succeed? What do I do with my life? What does happiness look like? What is success? Make sure that you are the one asking the question in the first place. So for example, what should I do with my life? Who says I need to do anything with my life, right? Like even something as simple and fundamental as that. I had a conversation once with Mark Manson where he talked about the job and the art, and he was is a musician, but he got into online marketing and blogging, writing, as a way of making money so that he could go play music and not have to be a professional musician. And he said, I didn't like the job of being a musician. We kind of shared stories because I toured with a band for a year. And he was like, what was that like? I was like, it was terrible. You drive 12 hours a day for a 45-minute set. And you eat a casserole, and then you get back in the van and drive another 12 hours. it wasn't a vibrant way of living. I was sedentary most of the day, and then I would sweat, and I'd be exhausted and eat some crappy food and then go to bed. He said, yeah, I always found that the job of being a musician, I didn't like as much as the job of being, I didn't like the job of being a musician as much as I liked the art of playing music. He said, but with writing, I loved the job. I loved the SEO and the HTML and all the things that most writers hate. I loved, Mark said. And I could really relate to that. And I do think that, many of us get into starting a business because we're the technician.
Yeah.
Right. And then, and then you've got to do the job of the entrepreneur and all that. And you've got to, your job description changes. And that's a whole other thing. The art of doing something, the craft of doing something versus the job of doing it, very, very different. Right. And I found I got into the business I got into because I loved writing and I loved communicating. And then here I am like running meetings all day long and I have no time to write. And I had to hire writers. When all I wanted to do was write. And I was like, this job sucks. And I created it for myself. And so I had to rewrite my job description so that I could actually enjoy it.
Yeah. Fascinating. And so true. Many entrepreneurs fail because they enjoy doing what they're doing so much that they think, oh, I can make a business out of this, like screw working the 9 to 5 for someone else.
Right.
But then either A, haven't got the stamina required to move through and build the infrastructure so they can recreate their ideal job in a way that supports their lifestyle. Or B, they get stuck, as you said, transitioning from technician to manager into leader, into entrepreneur, and then realize that, hey, this is not what I signed up for. Like, I just want to create. I just want to do my thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So for everyone who's watching and listening to this today, you've got a lot of experience and you shared some amazing things today. What do you think the top 3 bits of advice are to share with anyone right now watching, listening, that's in business or that's an entrepreneur?
I think 1, you need to know what you're trying to do. And as you mentioned, constantly reevaluating that, I think, is really important. 2, getting good people in your life that can give you feedback on what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Every week I have breakfast with friends where I go, I'm struggling with this. What do I do? Personal, professional, whatever, And I think you have to get around people that always challenge you to think at a higher level, right? So if you're the smartest person in the room, the most successful person in the room, run.
In the wrong room.
Run. Yeah, you're in the wrong room. Because you're not that great. Like, come on. You need to get around people that you're just not going to grow. I mean, that's fine. It's a nice little ego hit, but you're not going to grow. And a life and a business that isn't growing is dying in some way.
Yeah.
You've got to get around people that expand your thinking. And I think regularly inviting people into your life and telling you what you like. I think the best question to ask is, what am I missing? What do I not see here? I had a mentor tell me at what I thought was the height of my success. He said, you have to be careful that your success doesn't outpace your character. He says, and that's happening right now and you don't see it. And I was like, oh God, here's a father figure in my life going, you're not going to be able to sustain this. In fact, you're about to lose integrity with everyone and everything if you don't slow down. And then I think maybe the third thing would be, know who you're serving. Like, who are you trying to reach and what are you trying to help them with?
Yeah.
And then to constantly be evaluating that. So what do I want? What do other people see in me? And then what do people want? I think those are, really important questions. And obviously as a business owner, you can't just do what you want. But it does start with that. Like, you should never sacrifice what you want to give other people what they want and to please everybody else. I think it's good to understand other people's perspective without always doing what everybody else would approve of. And then finally getting very clear on whom you're serving and how. Seth Godin says the 2 questions that a marketer needs to ask is, what is it for and who is it for? What is this about? What is the change? What is the transformation? What is the problem that you're solving? What is it for? And who is it for? So knowing whom you're serving, very, very important.
Excellent tips. Excellent advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's it for and how does it work? And lastly, then to wrap us up, if you were to give the 10-year-old version of yourself some advice, what would you say to him?
Well, the 10-year-old version, I would say you should totally ask her out, man. Don't be afraid. Just pretend to be confident and she'll believe you. I grew up overweight, a lot of shame, got picked on a lot in sixth grade, which would have been right around then. I had long hair, very chubby, hadn't started puberty yet, had bosoms, wore multiple flannels because it was the 90s and that's what we did. And so I was, picked on a lot. And as a result, I was very reclusive and quiet and creative. I mean, because I was kind of off on my own, I was always writing and making things. I drew cartoons at that time. But, I would tell him that it's going to be okay. You're going to make it through. And one day, all of this pain and shame and frustration and all of it's going to be part of what makes you you, and you can redeem it.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Appreciate that you've dropped. How can, if the guys want to learn more about you, I understand you're the world's best guacamole maker as well, I read somewhere.
That's correct.
And you have a book, Real Artists Don't Starve. So for those that want to find a bit more about you or intrigued to learn some more, how can they get in touch?
You can go to my blog at goinswriter.com, Goins writer.com. I have a blog, podcast there. You can check it all out there on iTunes. You can find my podcast. It's called The Portfolio Life. You can search my name, Jeff Goins, as well and find all that.
Excellent. Jeff Goins, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Barry.
If you're in a position that many of our clients were before joining us, which is that your business is controlling you rather than you controlling your business, we would love to have a chat to you to see whether or not we might be the right fit to partner with you to help you grow and succeed in business. And over the past 8 years, we've helped hundreds of business owners around the world to grow, scale, and succeed in business. Many of our clients report that we've helped them to triple their profits and double their time off in 12 months or less. If you jump onto YouTube and notice the hundreds of testimonies, you'd see that this is a common theme amongst them. If you're a business owner that's generating more than $300,000 a year in annual revenue, whether it's $500 million, $5 million, even $10 million a year, and you're looking to take your business and your life to the next level, we might be able to help. If you're noticing that your business is lacking structure, maybe systems or processes, maybe you're not quite attracting enough or the right type of quality leads, making enough sales, or maybe you're even having issues finding, hiring, retaining, and training the right team members, we could be a fit for you. Ultimately, we believe that we never have business problems, we have personal problems that are expressed through our business. And a lot of the work we do is with you as a business owner, helping you to constantly upgrade the way that you see life, the way that you make decisions, and the way that you help construct a profitable and purpose-driven business. In order for us to do that though, you need to book in a quick 15-minute application call with one of our scaling specialists here at the Game Changers. Through the 15-minute call, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions to see if or how we might better help you. If we can't help you, we'll let you know politely and do our best to point in the direction of someone that can. However, if we can help you, we'll look at booking you a 1-hour game plan session where we're going to dive a lot deeper into where you and your business are at right now, where it is that you want to go in the next 3, 5, and 10 years' time, and what are the potential roadblocks or challenges or even opportunities that are along the journey in order for you to get there faster. If you're really feeling that it's time for you to experience the love and the joy of running a business again, if you're really wanting to experience a business that does actually operate without you while still producing profit, we may very well be the right fit. So book in a 15-minute call, we can have a chat and see where we go from there. My name is Barry, and thanks for listening. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk soon.